Deals are beginning at Al's. USDA Choice T-bone steak, $10.99 a pound. All natural bone-in rib pork chops, $2.99 a pound. Open Acres whole chicken, $1.19 a pound. Let us cook dinner tonight with Al's homestyle chicken from the deli. 24 pieces, baked or fried, are just $26.99. Fresh and produce, 6-ounce raspberries or blackberries or pint blueberries are $2.99 each with your Value Plus card. Selected Edie's Ice Cream, 48 ounce, $2.99 with your card. Selected Jack's Pizzas, 4 for $10 with your card. And selected 12-pack, 12-ounce cans of Pepsi products are 3 for $11 with your Value Plus card. Leelanau Witch's Brew, 750 milliliter is just $6.79. 24-pack, 12-ounce cans Michelob Ultra is just $22.99. Our website is under construction, but you can still download a copy of our ad at alssupermarkets.com. Al's, for over 75 years, at your service.
This is Community Business on AM 1420, 106.7 and 95.1 FM. WIMS. Valparaiso. Here's your host, Dan Granquist.
And we are AM 1420, 95.1, 106.7. It's Rick Federici, Dan Granquist, back and better than ever on the Facebook Live feed today. Several thousand of you on that Listen live stream. And man, Dan, you have got the show lined up today. Dan is going to give you some great insight to some phenomenal folks in the studio. Dan Granquist, take it away, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Community Business. This is Dan Granquist. We do have a terrific, exciting show this morning. You know, so many times we have local guests here. We talk about education. We talk about local businesses, business development. I'm a business and real estate attorney, and I help clients start businesses, set them up, buy and sell real estate, residential, commercial, homeowners, or investment properties. There's a lot of informative and important information about our local community. But this morning we're going to talk about a little bit different type of a topic on the local economy, the national economy, the global economy. What's happening in our community, our state, our country, and around the world. We're going to be talking about things like inflation. We'll be talking about gold and silver. Gold and silver are sometimes referred to as sound money versus the paper money. We'll get into some of these kinds of explanations, so we're looking forward to that. And remember, this is only for educational purposes, so if there's any legal issues, any financial investment ideas or advice, talk to your own representative, talk to your own financial advisor, your own attorney. But we're giving you some education, some information about the markets and these kinds of things. So welcome back to the Community Business Show. And I want to start off with a little bit of history. You know, as a lawyer, we look at the laws and we study those and we represent our clients. But I have a love for history, and one of my favorite times of history is the colonial period up in the 1700s. I really enjoy studying the colonies, the development of all the legislation. We all know no taxation without representation, going back to those times. But I love the Declaration of Independence, and there's such important concepts there, the inalienable rights that we enjoy, we are endowed with from our Creator. Among those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in the process of setting up our country, we eventually set up the Constitution. We have constitutional rights. These are important foundational and fundamental rights. And as we study American history, even world history, sometimes we get consumed with the big events. Who's the president, and what are the elections, and what states are coming in, and some of the wars and the big macro type events. But a lot of times we miss some of the underlying issues here. We don't learn a lot about legal history, the development of corporations, the development of liability issues. We don't learn a lot about economic history and the development of banking and finance and money and these kinds of things. Our educational system misses a lot of opportunity to teach our young people about finance, just how to set up budgets and how to work through money. So that's going to be the topic of our conversation this morning. And right after this commercial, we're going to pick up with a little bit of history, give you some very important dates. I'm going to be talking about 6 dates I want you to pay attention to, and then I'll be introducing my very special friends and guests here this morning.
Your financial well-being is important. Many people have debt, and most would like to eliminate their debt and do so faster than they are now. The Money Max account is an online personal education and financial system. It uses dynamic mathematical calculations and advanced banking strategies to create the most effective financial plan to help you guard your budget and achieve your goals. You don't have to wonder what is the best route to safely plan and work your budget. Simply decide where you want to go financially, and the Money Max account guides you to make wise decisions on the quickest, most effective path to get there.
Visit guardingfinances.com. That's guardingfinances.com.
If you are on Medicare, you often will forget to review your coverage. Just remember that you should schedule your free annual review when school starts. Insurance companies change their medical and prescription coverage annually. Call and schedule your free annual review today. Dan Olafson, 708-699-9016. There are 0 monthly premium plans available in Indiana.
Do you know what are the most important estate planning documents? Are you prepared? This is attorney Dan Granquist. Estate planning is about helping you plan for the future, take care of yourself and your loved ones, preserve your assets, and remember the people and organizations that have been important to your life. For help to start or review your estate plan, email me at dan@granquistlaw.com. Or if you just have some questions, email me at dan@granquistlaw.com.
This is WIMS. Like it, love it, share it. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search
WIMS.
Welcome back to the Community Business Show. This is Dan Granquist. We appreciate all of you that are listening on the radio, driving in the car, around home, or watching on Facebook. We have a good program this morning. We want to share with you some very important and interesting and opportunity information here. Again, this is educational information for you, whether it's legal information, whether it's financial information. It's just for your benefit that you may need to make sure you talk to your own advisors, legal and financial advisors, about all the topics that we talked about this morning. But let's get back to a little bit of history. On the financial history, we want to go back to year 1913. In that year, our government, our Congress, Woodrow Wilson just became president, and we had the Congress, and they passed legislation that set up what we know today as the Federal Reserve System, the Federal Reserve banks. And what that did is set up central banks for our country here that can help manage the flow of information, the flow of money, and help to support the economy. These were terrific goals at the time, but they've been a little bit misused, perhaps even abused in some ways. There's a lot of talk in the news these days, if you're attentive to current events here. But 1913, our country set up the Federal Reserve Bank. And at that time, part of the purpose of that, as stated actually explicitly in the legislation, was to provide for elastic money. Elastic money, what is that? Well, that gave the Federal Reserve the opportunity to issue notes, like we think of as promissory notes or bank notes, where they did not have to have all the deposits on hand. They could have notes that are debt that they would promise to pay even though they didn't have your money in the bank. But even back at that time in 1913, they were required to have at least 40% of the deposits of the bank notes backed by gold. So even the Federal Reserve was required to have gold backing back in 1913. Then let's move 20 more years up to 1933. President Franklin Roosevelt has just been elected and inaugurated in March. And 1 week later, and a short time later, they passed legislation that authorized him to issue an executive order that essentially confiscated all the gold that the public had, the citizens had. They were forced and required by law to turn that in to the government. So that was removing the public from the gold standard. And one of the reasons he did that was to bring gold back into the government, into the Federal Reserve banks, so that they'd have more gold to back the notes because of all the inflation and all of the debt that the government was incurring at the time. And then they would be able to issue more debt and just kind of expand the currency that they were producing and printing at the time. Then 1 year later, in 1944, President Franklin Roosevelt made a proclamation, and they passed the legislation that increased the price of gold by fiat, by declaration, to $35 an ounce. It was $20 and something before that. So these are the three important dates so far: 1913, 1933, and 1934. Then in 1944, 10 years after that, there was a big conference up in New Hampshire. It's called the Bretton Woods Conference. And at that conference, a lot of world leaders and financial leaders from around the world got together, and they decided, rather than all of us as countries and financial gurus around the world, instead of us trading everything and backing everything that we have, all the countries of the world, by gold, we would rely on the United States dollar, since at that time the dollar itself was backed by gold, even though all the people had their gold confiscated, but at least the dollar was backed by gold. So all of the other countries of the world related their currency to the American dollar. The American dollar became the reserve currency of the whole world, but it was backed by gold, so it provided for stability in the economy and limited the inflation. But as time passed, and the government passed more and more legislation, spent more and more money, got deeper and deeper into debt. Eventually, we come to 1971, the summer of 1971 in August, when then President Nixon made a speech and took the American dollar off of the gold standard. So now there's nothing to anchor the dollar. So since that time, the government can print as much money as it wants without any reference or requirement to be backed by gold. These are important facts and milestones in American history that we don't really learn about in our American history in the classes, but they're very significant. And that brings us up to the sixth date. We have 1913, 1933, 1934, 1944, and then we have 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, and now we have today's date, 2021, and soon to be 2022. And that's where I want to introduce our special guest this morning. We have Steve Jackson, who's here to talk about. Welcome, Steve. Thanks for coming in. And we have Ray Shimazu. Thanks, Steve, for coming in. And I know this has been a little bit of history, but it's very important to set the stage for what they're going to talk about here with the inflation that's going on. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're involved with sound money. Does that mean it's musical, or what does sound money mean here?
Well, it's not quite musical, but it is very interesting. I got involved with sound money, which is another name for gold and silver. I got involved with sound money because as Dan had relived our history, I began to understand that where our money seemed to be going, it was so important that I insure my money. Many people have experienced, or many countries have experienced catastrophe over currency. And so it seemed as though it would make sense to just insure the money that I have. So therefore, I got interested in gold and silver. I'm an online marketer, and a lot of times I have products that I actually present to people that really help them to better their lives, grow their business, whatever the case may be. And I got the opportunity to collaborate with a company that was making it easy for just the average individual to attain gold and silver. And so I've had opportunities to do it in the past, but I never took it seriously. But as I found out or learned about money, and as Dan had given us that history, many people today do not realize that the US dollar is no longer backed by gold. making it what we call a fiat currency. And so because of that, I took it much more seriously. I've had some financial reversals. And so thinking about what money is and how it really works, it helped me to appreciate how important it was to have some type of gold and silver. There was a survey done back in 2017. And in that survey, it asked several people, and 44% of the people said this: if they had a $400 emergency expense, that they would not be able to cover that expense unless they either borrowed money, sold money, or even gotten a loan. And so people wonder, well, what is happening with our money? It seems like we have less and less of it, even though we may get the same amount of money on a weekly basis from our job or whatever our livelihood is. It seems like we have less and less money. If we think about the US dollar, back in 1965, $1 was almost equal to an ounce of silver. I think the difference was about 29 cents when we think about how much the value of an ounce of silver was. But let's consider it as being just as equal. And so then you could buy a car, a Mustang, with $2,500. You can also buy that same Mustang with 2,500 ounces of silver. But today, could you buy a Ford Mustang with $2,500? Absolutely not. You may be able to pay for the tires and rims, but today you could buy a Mustang and a half with 25 ounces of silver. So we can see how our value has diminished. In fact, in today's time, the power of our money, or our buying power of our money, is only about 5 cents. Imagine that. And then when we think about the buying power of silver, it's increased drastically. Now let's talk about gold. Now gold, back in 1965, if you bought a home for $10,000 USD, today that home would be worth about $85,000. Now that $10,000 would equate to 281 ounces of gold. So if you were to consider what the value of that gold is today, it would be more than $500,000. So back then, if we bought a home with 281 ounces of gold, today we will have, in that 281 ounces, we will have over $500,000. That's mind-boggling. There is no reason why we would not consider gold and silver. But what makes it so important today is that it is accessible to just the average individual. And it wasn't that way before, but today it is accessible.
Yeah, we're now allowed to own our own gold and silver. When President Roosevelt took it away from everybody, they actually passed laws and prosecuted people that continued to own gold. They put people in prison because they owned some gold coins. And people lost a lot of money when they took that away. But our other guest here this morning is Ray Shimizu. Ray, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in Sound Money here.
Yes. My name's Ray. I've been 28 years in the financial services and helping people strategize and with safe money planning. And just in this past year, my good friend Steve Sound Money Jackson over there introduced me. He says, "You know, Ray, you are not doing a good enough job to help strategize for a lot of our clients and whatnot out there." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, everything you're doing right now. Think about everything you're doing. You're helping them in case of the what ifs and all these different scenarios and all this the craziness that's going on in the world and everything. But everything is all in the U.S. dollars." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm having this aha moment. I think it was April. And Steve, I've trusted and known him for 25 years now. He gave me office space when I didn't have work 25 years ago. And I said, I trust exactly what you're telling me. And he told me, he said he's learned a lot from even overseas and what's going on all over the planet right now. And I said, okay, I have to now be able to help people with not just safe money, but sound money. So safe and sound money planning right now to make sure that we're doing the right things for our clients in the future.
Well, these are tremendous opportunities, and I thank Steve and Ray, and they helped me see that information too. And as I've been studying, there's so much concern about inflation. Congress just passed a new legislation, multi-trillion-dollar budget, and they're just printing billions of dollars every month and every day, and paper money is just being printed and printed and printed. And the more money that's printed, the less value each dollar has. So that's what the concept of inflation. Our dollar is devaluating. So when you have money in the bank or it's sitting under the mattress at home, you're losing money, actually. There's stocks, there's all these other kinds of things. There's a place for all of that. But one option that we have, and that's what we want to call your attention to today, is start thinking about and start investing in sound money, which is the gold and silver. There are ways to do that. So, Ray, you met Steve and he talked to you about it. So how did you get started in buying some gold or silver, or what is all that about?
Well, one of the things that the people don't understand is you can, just like you put money into a 401k or any other IRA or whatnot, you dollar cost average. People sometimes they'll say, well, I can't afford that. I can't afford it. Absolutely, you can afford it, because you can basically put it on a monthly basis. You can put it on a quarterly basis, annual basis, or whatnot. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't even understand, and this is the thing, they think it's just for the rich people when they hear words like self-directed IRAs. So those are basically IRA accounts where you can physically take possession of gold and silver and have it stored for you. It's amazing, because it seems like the word doesn't seem to get out on those kind of things when the average person is all of a sudden saying, wait a minute, do I have access to that? And the answer is absolutely yes.
You mean normal people like you and me can buy gold? We don't have to be millionaires to buy the big bullion. We think of all these rich companies and so forth buying a lot of gold. Can someone buy a $50 or $100 worth of gold or silver, Steve?
Absolutely. In fact, there's a site that you can go to. It's buysilvergold.us. And on that site, there's a product called Sound, what is that? Sound Wallet. Ray, help me with that.
Well, there's a link
Smart
there for products.
Sound Money Wallet.
And
so what that is that is actually a program that allows you to transfer U.S. currency into gold or silver, or vice versa. And it does it instantaneously. But with that particular program, you are able to buy what we call fractional amounts. That's why we were mentioned you can invest maybe $50, $25, whatever the case may be. You can buy fractional amounts of gold and silver to continue to build your legacy, to build your wealth. So it is very easy for anyone to instantaneously buy gold and silver.
Not all of us have $5,000, $10,000, or $100,000 to invest in a big lump sum amount of gold or silver, but we can start small. We all can start someplace, and that's the opportunity that we have with that website, buysilvergold.us. And there's a link there where you can click on if you just want to buy a product or see some of the products that are available, some of the coins and jewelry and bullion that's there. That's one option for you. So we're going to take another quick short break, and then we'll be coming back and talk about some of the economics, the inflation, and some of the terms of gold and silver and why it's so useful and important for a financial portfolio. Is gold, silver investment? Is it just insurance? Is it wealth accumulation? What are some of these ideas that we'll be talking about right after this break?
Dan Grantquist is a business and real estate attorney interested in helping and working with individuals and businesses in our community. Although legal and business concepts may be discussed on the show, information is presented for general education purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice, and no statements are intended as legal advice. You should consult your own attorney to obtain advice with respect to your specific legal and business issues or needs.
Debt is the number one issue on people's minds. Throughout the United States, many people are upside down in their mortgage. They owe more than what their property is worth. and they're looking for solutions. Others are simply tired of giving away their hard-earned money in the form of interest to financial institutions. The Money Max account is the solution. The Money Max account uses sophisticated algorithms to calculate the various potential paths, including computing all of the variables associated with each debt and the time value of money, and then mathematically determines which debt payment to make and when and how much. It's all math. The Money Max account is the most effective financial strategy to eliminate your debt and build up cash reserves in your bank account. You'll be amazed at the time and money you can save and the simplicity of the system.
Visit guardingfinances.com. That's guardingfinances.com.
This is Dan Granquist. I'm a real estate attorney. Many homeowners think they can buy or sell their homes without a real estate attorney. Unfortunately, I get calls after the closing with questions about problems they have, problems we could have spotted and resolved ahead of time. Real estate brokers call me and refer their clients for help with contract, survey, and title issues. For help with your real estate transaction, email me at dan@granquistlaw.com. dan@granquistlaw.com.
Like you, I was skeptical. I thought with a reverse, the bank was trying to get my house. I did a lot of research. I found out that this is a government program started by President Ronald Reagan to help keep seniors in their homes, to help them age in place. You want to stay home, let your home pay you. Dan Olafson, 708-699-9016. 708-699-9016.
This is Community Business on AM 1420, 106.7 and 95.1 FM. WIMS. Valparaiso. Here's your host, Dan Granquist.
And welcome back to the Community Business Show here on WIMS. We appreciate Rick Federici as my executive producer. And we want to give a shout out to Rick Federici because today it's his birthday. Hey.
Wow. Thank you, everybody. Looking pretty good for 70, right?
That's
29.
Thank you.
All right.
I love you. 55. Speaking of shout-outs, gentlemen, thank you so much. We had a couple folks chiming in about the website that Dan had mentioned along with the other gentlemen, Ray and Steven. It is buysilvergold.us. I'm going to throw that up on the Facebook Live feed. We've got to say good morning because we get a little love from the president of the Michigan City Chamber for Dan Granquist, Katie Eaton and the crew, of course, watching over at the Michigan City Chamber this morning. Janelle Elwood and the group from the Lakefront Career Network. Of course, Chuck Beerwald says, great show. Mariah, Eli, Norma, and Kylene, along with Mary, also chiming in. Several of you on the live feed. Dan, I'm going to throw it back to you. There's a lot of great information today. And I want to throw this out there for folks that walk through WIMS, your choice, but we do have a ton of stuff in our front foyer area as soon as you walk in. To the Radio Ranch over here. So please feel free. We will have info. And if folks want to connect with all of you, I know you're going to give more information throughout the show, Dan.
Yes, we will. So thank you all so much for watching, for tuning in on live Facebook or radio. We appreciate that very much. And we just love to give information to help the people in our community. There's many different ways that we provide that information with guests from education and studying, with local businesses, with nonprofit organizations. We very much appreciate. I'm very much involved in the Michigan City Chamber of Commerce and all the work that they do here in town and the community to support businesses, the Economic Development Corporation, Michigan City, and all the work that they're doing here, and our leaders trying to build our community. And this is just one more opportunity to help people in our community start thinking about their own wealth preservation, their own financial situation here. This is a lot of information, but hopefully you can just kind of understand what we're talking about here, some of the technical concepts of inflation, but we all feel it in our pocketbook. That's where we say the rubber meets the road. You go to the gas station and gas prices are up. You go to the grocery store and prices are up. What's happening in our economy? So that's kind of what we're addressing here with this whole concept of starting to think about in buying some silver and gold is what we call sound money, because there's many different purposes for that, but one of the purposes is kind of financial insurance to protect against all this inflation and the devaluing of our American dollar. So Steve, let's come back to you. We mentioned the website, buysilvergold.us, but that's just one opportunity for people to get some information, There's some links there to buy products, to put some money in, the sound wallet feature and so forth. But what is this whole concept of inflation and the valuation of gold and silver?
Well, as we realize that the USD currency has lost some of its buying power, prices naturally go up. And they've gone up to the point where it's just difficult to make ends meet at times because of the way prices have gone up. And so, having said that, that's why having some type of protection or some type of insurance is important. And a good protection against that is gold and silver. Gold and silver has been around since the beginning of time, and it will still be here. Gold and silver maintains its value because of the rarity. It is the rarity of something that gives its value. So if we print money like we have a tree in the backyard, there's no longer a rarity, and so the currency will lose its value. Thus, prices will increase.
And these days, the government is printing billions of dollars of currency, paper money. And like we mentioned before, the more they print, the less value each dollar has. Mm-hmm. So prices are going up. We think of prices going up, but really what it means is that the dollar value is going down. So in cases of hyperinflation, like we've seen in some countries around the world, you'll need a wheelbarrow to carry all the cash, if you will, the currency into the store to buy a loaf of bread. That's where the dollar, the currency, paper money that has no reference, no anchor to gold, is losing the value. And that's why if you have a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold, it can help with your investment there. So, Ray, gold and silver is not just stocks or buying mines, but as we talk about this, we know that in 1933, President Roosevelt forced everybody to give up the gold. But since then, they passed legislation where we can now own gold.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about physically owning gold. I think you have some samples to share with us, you and Steve do, and the importance of maybe having some physical ownership of it, whether it's in your house, in your pocket, or in a safe, or even in a vault here.
Yeah, as we go, one of the things I want to do is bring up, the hedge against poor government decisions and potential economic collapse, things like that. And having the physical gold and silver does not take the place of having a stock bond, ETF, things like that. So a lot of our investment advisors that help our clients with the things that go up and down or whatnot realize that when you still cash that in, it's still in dollars. Okay. I have an article here which is just, I really feel very strongly to be able to share this with you. And it was from David Stockman, Chief Economic Advisor for Ronald Reagan. And he basically, he says, hold gold as insurance. He says, he warns the reset means the crash of epic proportions. So it's just sort of a pleasant word when you hear the word reset. Okay. And he said, this is not the time to be at very high risk, even though it seems like everything has been climbing the wall of worry, right? It says the reset is just a pleasant name or clinical name for a crash of epic proportions, which we will have because the markets are so inflated. And it's going to turn our financial and economic realities upside down. And he says when the central banks started to inflate like crazy, you first inflate financial assets, which we're seeing in bubbles of every proportion right now. It eventually works its way into the goods and services. It's like when I went to Costco yesterday and they said I came in, I bought 2 big rolls of toilet papers. Oh, you can only take 1 with you. Okay. So I said, well, how about if I go to another brand? I said, I'll come back next time. And basically, he says that in his prediction, there will be a 50 to 70%, 5% correction in the financial markets. What now?
Well, as I've studied a lot of this and looked online, there's a lot of experts that are talking about the potential issues with our Federal Reserve System,
That's
our
right.
central bank here. And do they keep printing more money to prop up the economy? Or do they do some tapering and try to slow down the printing? What's it going to do with interest rates if they raise interest rates, if they don't?
Yep.
So if you listen to the current events of our day and all these options, what's the Federal Reserve going to do? And why do we keep talking about the Federal Reserve? Why is that in our conversation? Because that is the central bank in our country. And that's where they buy the treasury notes, they kind of set the interest rates and all these kinds of things. They print the money, and then the government backs it with nothing. There's no gold and silver. So it's just kind of loose out there, and we're just kind of like bobbing in the ocean of finance here in our country. And that's why I appreciate Steve and Ray coming in to share a little bit with us this morning about gold and silver as an option to help each one of us and help people in our community to think about getting some protection, getting some preservation of your wealth. We can't just jump in everything, but you can start with a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, and there's the price of silver and the price of gold, whatever it is, $25, $30 an ounce for silver these days. $1,700, $1,800, up to $2,000 an ounce for gold, somewhere in that range right now. There's a lot of forecasting that may go up, so this is a good time to buy if you're interested in the increase in price. But it's not just that, but it's just preserving what you have here. But Stephen, tell us a little bit about some of the physical pieces. You have some samples here with us, I think you and Ray. Maybe show us some of these things that we can get. All of us normal human beings, we're not the wealthy, but we can buy some pieces and hold it in our own possession and keep it safe.
Yes, absolutely. First, I want to refer back to that site. On the site buysilvergold.us, there's a program called AutoSaver. And in that program, it helps you actually buy silver, buy gold. And the reason for that is because people just would not know what to buy. What do they look for? How they know they're getting the right product? How do they know they're not getting a counterfeit coin? So through this program, it eliminates all of that. Now, this group of people wanted to help everyone to avoid a $1.2 million mistake. And that is, in 1986, when the American Silver Eagle began, if we'd have bought one coin per month up until now, we probably would have spent about $40,000, but it'd be worth $1.2 million. So that makes you want to start now.
And that would be buying one coin a month for all those since 1965?
Since 1986.
86?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we bought one coin per month until then, it'd be worth $1.2 million.
So we're investing one coin a month, budgeting for that in that scenario, that hypothetical. If we would just budget one coin a month, whatever the price is of silver, then it would have cost us over that time, you say $40,000, $50,000.
Exactly.
But it would be worth a lot more today?
$1.2 million.
$1.2 million.
Makes us want to get started right now.
Let's start buying coins, one a month. So you said that's the AutoSaver program.
Yes. So, and that is how do we get a coin once a month? So through the AutoSaver program, we have some coins here, and
you can hold them up to the camera there a little bit.
These are numismatic coins, and what they are, they're coins, pure silver. They have a MS-70 grading. And what that does is that just lets us know the purity of the coin. They're graded by NGC, which is a grading company, worldwide grading company, and they actually certify that the coin is authentic. So this coin has not been touched by human hands. But this is the type of coin that you can actually get through the AutoSaver program on a monthly basis. And these coins, what's so unique about these coins is not only that they're graded and that they're packaged in this way, but they're rare. You're not going to find 100,000 coins of this like around. And as I mentioned before, it is the rarity of a coin that makes it valuable. So this coin really can increase in value inside of a year. It just depends. So, but this is the type of coin that you would actually get if you were in that AutoSaver program.
Or you could just buy one here and there now and then if they wanted to try it out. Buy one coin and see what it's like and hold it in your hand.
Absolutely. In fact, a good idea, a good example of buying a coin. Now, this is a 5-ounce coin.
Whoa.
Miss Liberty coin. This coin here was in representation of 9/11. It's to commemorate that moment. I think about 911 of these coins were created. So you can just see how rare the coins are as far as the amount of mintage. It's not 100,000 or 1,000,000. It's just a few. But as time goes on, these coins will be widely sought after. And so that's what increases their value. But this is the type of coin you can actually purchase at any given time. And there's so many different varieties. There's enough to go around, but they actually will help you to increase your wealth.
Now, that site at buysilvergold.us is one site where anybody can go there and click on the product link, and you can scroll down and see some of the different coins, the Liberty coins, silver and gold. There's some silver gold jewelry. There's some other bullion and things there. So there's no specific cost to start with other than the cost of buying that coin. But it also, in addition to that, you can buy one coin for $50 fractional silver or gold, or you can buy an ounce for whatever the price is there. You can buy that, order that, and get that. But it's also a membership type program, kind of like going to Costco, Ray said, where you pay for a membership and then you have the opportunity to shop there and get some of the benefit of the prices. So for those that choose to join and are interested in setting up a budget and getting into silver and gold on a more regular basis, there's an opportunity, if you choose, to join as a member, and then you have the ability to save a little bit on the cost of the silver and gold, and then be able to set up a budget and get going. So that information is there. If you'd like more information, more detailed information, obviously feel free to reach out to me, Dan, at granquistlaw.com, or give me a call, 219-728-2880. We'd be happy to talk some more about a little more details of that. But there's tremendous opportunity. It doesn't cost a fortune, just whatever. Again, if you want to go to the link there on that website for products, just pick one out, order it, buy it, pay for it. It'll be delivered to you, and you can own your very own piece of silver and gold in whatever form it is that you choose to get there. So have you done that, Ray?
Religiously. Religiously, I'm really big on silver right now because right now there's a finite amount of it, and it's right now it's at a very good price point right now. And and one of the things that I saw recently, and it just blew my mind, was in the last 688 days, as of July, we printed more money. Federal Reserve printed more money than the first 100 years of the existence. So imagine, we have skin in the game here. It just makes sense to keep an open mind right now to be able to have access to it.
Just think about this option for your own financial situation. Have your stocks, get your financial advisor, but not all financial advisors are aware of this opportunity of buying silver and gold. And frankly, sometimes they don't even get a commission or want to talk about it, right?
Absolutely. And the thing, if you look at the last 20 years, okay, the S&P 500 did 269% cumulative over that 20-year period. Silver did 517%, and gold did 569, which means on average it pretty much doubled. And I think we would all agree we were in a non-inflationary period. So now that we're in this new ball game, and it doesn't seem like it's not a transitory situation, we are definitely ramping up, and it just makes sense to have currency protection.
And Ray, I've heard in the news that there's some big buyers of gold and silver. And some of the biggest buyers I've heard are the banks themselves. So why would the central bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, want to buy gold or silver?
Well, is for protection.
Okay.
They know how valuable that or how important that protection is because they know where the currency is going. You mentioned banks. Chase, I think, has accumulated over 100 million ounces.
Over $1 billion.
Or 1 billion ounces of silver and 25 million ounces of gold. They know what's happening.
And governments are getting gold and silver as well, right?
Tons of it.
Governments around the world, right?
Yes, and one of the things Steve, I'm just expounding on what Steve mentioned was the analogy that I heard was with Chase with the billion, and they've actually doubled in the last 4 years, from what I understand. And the analogy is almost like working at Apple and using Macintosh computers, since they're the number one distributor of the U.S. dollar, of the owner of the dollars and whatnot. So it's the governments are on. Right now we're looking at, there's a lot of things going on with digital currencies out there being backed by gold, even in China recently. That's one of the things that they announced.
So if we pay attention to the news and listen to some of these reports, and it's, sometimes it's weary, sometimes it's challenging with all the economics, and we keep hearing inflation. But friends, it's in our pocketbook here. Prices are going up, inflation is increasing, the government is printing billions and billions and trillions of dollars of money. This is something worthwhile thinking about, at least for your own self. Look into it a little bit, learn a little bit, pay attention. And as I've been doing that, watching, listening to a lot of experts and different experts that own some of the mines and advise their people. This is all in the news. You can find it online, what the banks are doing and the prices that are going up and all these kinds of things. Let's help ourselves and let's help our community with these kinds of issues that can be a big benefit, so we can preserve the wealth in our community and in your own investment and financial portfolio here. So, Steve and Ray, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Come out here to talk about these important topics. We've got just a few minutes left in the show here. But Ray, what final words might you have to say, recommendations or challenges for everybody?
This is from a blog from a gentleman that grew up in Lihil in Romania. And he says, make sure you write this down because these are some things that happened in Romania before they had hyperinflation. And the first one was the cost of raw materials started to rise. I think we all are seeing that with their supply chains. Other things began rising in staggering waves. The next one was the supply chain started breaking down. Look at now they're using those carts on the borders and whatnot.
I heard someone say we can do our Christmas shopping out in the Pacific Ocean, going from boat to boat out there and picking it up. So
a cruise, like a cruise. Salaries began rising. McDonald's might increase a couple of dollars here and there to compensate for the new normal. There was a rationing began at supermarket, like I mentioned to you yesterday over at Costco. The value of our savings was destroyed. Now we're in that, we're hoping that we don't continue to go down that path. But the last piece was the loss of confidence in everything. So the goal is let's make sure that we help you before we get to that point, because we know hope is the most important thing, and strategizing and making sure that we are ahead of the game and have a plan, because nobody reacts well in the heat of it.
Yeah. And Steve, any last words and advice and challenge?
Well, I just want to give clarity on what's available on buysilver.us. We talked about coins now. I just want to make a distinction. So we talked about this as being a numismatic coin, which is a collector's coin. But this is a normal coin that many people are used to seeing. This is what is considered a bullion, 1 ounce silver. And this typically is about $35. So, there are different stages of gold and silver. We have example of a numismatic gold coin is a 1/2 gram. So there's just so many different ways that gold and silver can be purchased, and you will learn all of that on buysilvergold.us.
Well, thank you, Steve and Ray, for coming in to share with us this important information to help our community, the people in our community, think about some of these financial issues. Make sure everybody talks to your own financial advisor to see what's best and right for you in your own situation, but this is an option for everybody to consider. And just go out and, like shopping online, buy a piece of gold, buy a piece of silver, and feel it, see what it looks like, and start paying attention to these economic issues that are facing us right now in our country in 2021 and 2022 here with all the inflation going on. We appreciate the opportunity to share with you this information. If you have legal needs, feel free to reach out to me for business and real estate and estate planning. You can contact me at dan@granquistlaw.com. I'd be happy to talk with you about those and share some of my own experiences and my own personal involvement with gold and silver. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm an attorney to help with legal issues there. So again, please be sure to contact your financial advisor, but this is educational information I think that is very valuable and important for all of us. So again, thank you, Steve and Ray, for coming in. And we look forward to seeing you again. And remember, tomorrow is a special day in our country, Veterans Day. So we want to give a shout out and a big thank you and appreciation to our veterans that give their lives and of their lives to serve us and help protect the freedoms that we have. And we all want to join together to support them and help and appreciate what they've done and what we have in our country and the heritage of our country. As I mentioned earlier, the Declaration and the Constitution. We want to uphold these values. So thank you all in our community, and we look forward to being back next month on the second Wednesday for the Community Business Show.
This is